like, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications. So let's get right into it. So I kind of wanted to talk about just different things that we go through as teenagers. I know I've kind of already talked about this, but as I'm just kind of getting more involved with things, I'm kind of just getting involved in more stuff at church and stuff. And as a teenager, it's kind of hard to be a Christian and a teenager at the same time. And you see all this stuff that already happens with teenagers, but it kind of gets harder as a Christian. And so I wanted to talk about how things can get to us sometimes, but you have to try not to let it get to you very hard. I know there's certain times where people have made fun of me because of who I am and that I am a Christian, and a lot of people have made fun of me because of that I'm Hispanic, and that part gets me mad. And I'm sorry, and I just said not to let it get to you, but it gets me mad. And the reason it gets me mad is because we're all the same. And there's a song by Mandisa, it's called Bleed the Same. And she basically just talks about how we're all the same. Because there's white, black, there's Hispanic, there's Asian, there's whatever. There's so many of us. And we're all different colors. But, like, that has nothing to do, we're still all humans. And people don't realize that sometimes, and they judge by the color of our skin. And that is such a big thing sometimes, and we can't let that get to us. And you want to get mad, and you want to get at them, and you want to yell at them, and we just kind of stop ourselves and say, you know what? That's the devil coming through them right there. And we're not going to let that get to us. We are going to give them grace, and we're going to say, okay, whatever you think, but we're all the same, and I'm not going to let that get to me. And so, and as a teenager, there's a lot of just drama that happens, and I know I'm in middle school, and literally so much drama already happens, and I've been in so much drama too, and it's not easy whatsoever. And as just growing up and kind of learning different things as these drama stuff happens, it kind of teaches you a lesson in life, and just to stay away from certain people and learn to forgive and give grace and not judge someone from just the outside. And it's hard sometimes, but sometimes I just like, okay, I gotta learn, and I'm gonna do this. And I know a lot of friend stuff happens with people. I've had a lot of friend stuff. I talked about this before, that I have lost friends, and a lot of people just didn't want to be my friend because of a certain reason. And it's really hard to make friends and to find those right friends for you, friends that are not toxic, that are just good people who love the Lord, and or even just good people. And it's hard sometimes, but as you keep growing and you keep meeting different people, you're like, oh, well, that person's not good for me, and so it's time to move on. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's hard for other people because they get into relationships, and sometimes they're bad. I think I should talk about worship. I talk about it a lot, and I love worship. It is such an important part of life, and something that I've done for years and years and years. I would dance as a 5-year-old, worshiping and leading kids that were older than me in worship. And as I kind of got older, I kind of stopped doing it for a little bit. And I just kind of lost the meaning of worship and why we were worshiping. And I was scared to worship because I didn't want anybody to judge me. And I was scared that this person next to me was like hearing my voice and like, ew, like that's disgusting. And so I just wouldn't sing. I wouldn't raise my hands. I wouldn't get on my knees because I was embarrassed. And I would be like looking at those people like, why are they doing that? That just like looks so weird. But as I kind of got a little bit more older and kind of understood the meaning of worship and why we were worshiping, I kind of got more involved in it. And as I switched youth students, I went to a different campus, and as I saw those students worshiping, it like just looking at them just was like, I was questioning. I was like, why are they worshiping? Because I was like, I've never seen teenagers worship before, and that's kind of sad, but I've never seen it. And as I saw them worshiping, it inspired me to worship. And as I went to camp, I got a word that I was meant to worship, and God was hearing me, and He watched me during worship. And I just see people sitting in the chairs as students, not worshiping. But I feel like deep down they really do want to worship, but they're just scared. And I was just really processing this the other night, and I was just like, what if they came up and worshiped, but they're just so scared that someone's gonna judge them for whatever they're doing? I want these students to worship because it changed my life, and I wanted to change their lives too. And maybe you're one of those people who just sit there doing worship and just question, should I go up there and worship? Should I go up there and sing? Should I go up there and raise my hands and get on my knees? Is that weird? I want you to do it. I was looking at the student, and as I was just watching them just sit there, and I was like, maybe I should go up to them and ask them if they're doing okay and if they want to join me in worship. And as I was sitting there, I kind of was just watching, and then they got up, and I prayed for that person to get up and worship. And I was just gonna say to stand for that person, just to stand up at least. But that person got up, went to the front, started worshiping, and got on their knees. That is bold. That is very brave of that person, because I'm just now recently like getting on my knees because I got comfortable too, and that person just did it, and I was like, this is crazy. I prayed, and I was like, God, just fill them with your strength, and for them to come up there, and the courage and the brave, for them to be brave to come up there and worship, and for them not to be afraid. And they went up, and they even got on their knees, and I was freaking out. I was, God, you're amazing. You just do miracles. And so I was just shocked. And as I see these other students, I know they might never even come up and worship, but deep down I just feel like they really do want to. And so come up. You should not care about what everybody else thinks about you. Someone could be judging you, but who cares? I don't care. I can be like, oh, that guy's cute, but who cares? You could be like, yes, this girl's so cute, but I don't want her to hear my ugly voice. Who cares? Nobody cares about how you're singing, how you're worshiping, how you're raising your hands, or if you're getting down on your knees. You shouldn't care about that person looking at you and judging you, because they could be. Honestly, they could be, but who cares? the only person you should care about is God. Because God is the one you're worshiping. You're not worshiping for that person next to you. You're worshiping for God, and you are thanking Him for everything He's done. He's made this whole world. He has made you and me. And we're repaying Him and thanking Him and worshiping and praising God. So just keep that in your thoughts when you're worshiping. Why am I worshiping? For God and thanking Him. It could be the same reason of you, if your mom had done something for you, say thank you, Mom, and like giving her a hug. But this is how we thank God, about worshiping and praising and just sharing His word, because we're thanking Him for everything He's done. He's done so much. He's died on the cross for us. And just keep that in your mind while you're worshiping. And share that with others. Maybe you worship like all the time, but maybe you should share it with other people and say, hey, I know you really want to worship. Just come down and worship with me. But we don't have to be afraid of what other people think, because we're worshiping God, and this is for God, not for the pastor, not for the person singing, not for the band. This is for God. And it's so cool to even think about, and I think about it a lot. And there's so many different things that people say, is that we're not clapping when they say something, like a preacher. If your pastor's up there and you're just clapping, and you're like, oh, we're just clapping because he said stuff that are so good. But he didn't say, whatever he just said was not him. We're not clapping because the pastor said something good. We are clapping because God said something good. Because God put that person on that stage, and whatever words are coming through their mouth was from God. Hopefully, most of them. Probably not, but most of them, yes. God put it in their mouths to tell you guys that word. And we're like, yes, God, that's good. And we needed to hear that. So don't forget why you go to church. Don't forget why you're worshiping. And it's all for God. It's all for Him. Because we love Him, and we're thanking Him. So keep that in your mind.